Welcome back to Movie of the Month. We don't have an intro for Movie of the Month, do we?
No, we just say it.
Because we got our peeps. Shout out to our Patreon subs, Walter Woodman, Edward Cavaco.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. We make this show for you guys exclusively.
Yep.
Our Movie of the Month poll this month was an interesting one. Mm-hmm. We chose sci-fi as the genre, and you picked Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, yeah.
Which is one I haven't seen. I still want to get around to it. Mm-hmm. But the people have spoken, ladies and gentlemen. And my pick, The Phantom Menace, has won Movie of the Month. Yep. And the reason I picked Phantom Menace is Neves and I have talked about Phantom Menace briefly before. Yeah. He fucking hates it.
I mean, yeah.
And I thought I could maybe he needs a rewatch. Maybe he needs a refresher on the cinematic achievement that is Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
And his Letterboxd score went backwards. Went the wrong way. I think he lost half a star or a full star.
Half a star.
I lost half a star on this rewatch.
Yeah.
But I still think that this debate here could change his mind. So let's get into the Phantom Menace. Let's take you back to 1999. Whew. A crazy year in film.
Play the Prince song.
Yeah. The top three highest grossing films of 1999. Number 3, Toy Story 2.
Okay.
Made $511 million.
Not bad.
Number 2, this one surprised me. M. Night Was Cooking with The Sixth Sense.
That made a lot of money.
That shit made $672 million. That's more than The Matrix that came out that year. That's more than The Mummy.
Damn.
And that's more than Toy Story 2. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
And number 1, The Phantom Menace.
Of course.
Made $924 million at the box office. It made over $28 million on opening weekend.
Holy shit.
Which beat Jurassic Park, which had the previous record. The film was the first ever film to make $100 million in the first 5 days.
God damn. That's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot of money.
For 1999 as well, because like people forget that movies now are quicker to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
But there have only been, I believe, 3 movies before 2000 that have grossed $1 billion.
That's right.
It's Phantom Menace, Jurassic Park, and Titanic. That's it.
$100 million in the first 5 days.
Damn.
I cannot even begin to when I watch Phantom Menace, I try to put myself in 1999.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important to do that.
Of course.
You have to try and you grew up with the original trilogy.
Yep.
What is it like?
16
What's
years.
the hype like? 16 years, a new Star Wars is coming, and it's a prequel. It's the origin story of the famed Darth Vader.
Yep.
And that, like, I couldn't imagine how high, and then you see the previews and people are buying tickets to the movie just to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And then leave.
Yep, that's it.
And you see Darth Maul in the trailer, and you're like, that's the coolest looking villain I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my, this is young Obi-Wan. This is just going to be so epic. And I don't think the movie delivered on that level of hype. Like, look, I love Phantom Menace for what it is.
Yeah.
I understand its flaws, but I don't love some of the execution of these ideas, but I love some of the ideas. And I love some of the ways that they expanded the lore, even if they don't go into it too well. But that's what I want to get into.
For sure.
Overall, the story is all over the place, sure.
Yeah.
Is this the ideal way to tell Anakin's origin story? To start it, maybe not with trade, fucking
The Trade Federation.
the Trade Federation and the tariffs and the politics.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the way to start it, but there's some very fun sequences in this film and some very memorable characters, dialogue, etc.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Okay. You can feel that. My experience with the prequels, because you watched these pretty recently.
Oh, that's another thing. I didn't
too.
grow up with them.
Yeah.
I watched them. I watched all Star Wars films a couple years back, maybe like 4 years ago now. And this is the first Star Wars film I ever watched.
Yeah.
Episode
You
1.
started with the prequels
Exactly.
and then you went on to...
I started with the prequels, yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting because a lot of people grew up with the original trilogy and then went to the prequel. So their experience is going to be different from yours.
What about you when you were a kid, Nev?
So all I remember was when I was a kid, my parents had the VHSs of them. So you know the 1997 golden box set for the special
Original
editions?
trilogy.
That's how I watched
Special
originals.
editions. So you watched the original trilogy before you had seen Phantom Menace.
Yes. So I did see Phantom Menace, and I don't remember too much of it when I was a kid. I remember little parts, like I knew like the introduction of R2-D2 scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool, R2-D2, and like Darth Maul was there. Oh, cool. And that's it. That's all I remember from the movie.
Really?
I don't remember a whole lot. My remembering of the movie comes from Lego Star Wars, to be honest, because I played that game so much. So I know the general gist, like, yeah, the two Jedis, they go in that ship, and then they escape because they try to get killed and whatever. And then Jar Jar comes out of nowhere. And I thought, oh, yeah, the Lego Star Wars game, they're very quick with it, so the introduction of Jar Jar is quick because of the story.
Right.
I assume the movie would flesh it out better. No, it's the exact same way. It's the exact same. He just comes out of nowhere in this fucking movie. And I watched this, and I was like, maybe you're right, Nathan. Maybe because I was a kid when I saw the movie, maybe my mindset was, I don't remember it. I got to refresh myself. I got to look at it from a different viewpoint. I'm older now, and holy crap, I fucking hate this opening. I hate this opening so much. Here's when I started hating it. When the gas comes in and the Jedi are like, hold your breath, whatever.
Yeah.
The line from that dude, he's like, they must be dead by now. Destroy what's left of them. I'm like, that sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
It
You didn't even need that line. You could just say the droids are like, all right, let's check it out the premises. And it's just little moments like that. I was like, you don't have to. Ooh, why'd you add that? Ooh, why did Obi-Wan say that joke? That didn't land at all. It's like, oh, you were right, sir. The negotiations were short. Which is a fine line of dialogue if it wasn't for the fact that before that, it was horribly paced of them like jumping around. It's like, oh, they were in the ventilation shaft. What?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? And then you cut to Queen Amidala, and I'm like, wait, oh yeah, Natalie Portman? Oh, what the fuck? She's a doppelganger?
Yeah, and then immediately they're like into politics.
Yeah.
And I'm confused a little bit already. Like,
Yeah.
Especially if I saw this as a kid. Like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Here's my understanding, because as a kid, I didn't fucking get it when I was a kid.
Of course.
Here's what I kind of understood about this movie. These two guys, at the beginning of the film, the two guys that talk to Palpatine, they don't want to pay taxes. They're rich people. They don't want to pay taxes. How can we
The
not...
guys that do like the kind of like an Asian accent.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. A lot of stereotypes in this fucking Star Wars
really
film.
is, yeah.
We'll get into that when we get to it. But these two guys, they don't want to pay taxes, so they're like, how can we not? Here's an idea. Let's talk to Darth Sidious. Maybe he can give us some advice. And Darth Sidious is like, okay, when the Jedi come, you just kill them. All right, we don't want any connection to these, and we want Padme, Queen Amidala, to sign the peace treaty, so that we don't have to pay taxes, and they are mad at her for signing it. So we'll force her to sign it. Yeah,
essentially they're trying to take over Naboo.
Yes.
And they're basically like, we got her hostage.
Yes.
They think they got her hostage.
Right.
And they're like, she's going to sign this peace treaty, and then it's not going to get out to the rest of the galaxy what we're doing here. And we could just go back to the Senate, show them a signed peace treaty, and we're fine. Naboo's ours, and basically none the wiser.
Yes.
They think that the Queen made a deal with them. So that's basically the setup.
So, from just describing that, you'd think that it would be done in a more straightforward narrative, similar to A New Hope, for example. You find out what Leia's role is, you find out what Darth Vader's role is. Very simple, because he breaks into their ship, and he captures them. He wants the plans.
Yeah.
Stolen plans. This movie wanted to do 50 billion things at the same time. Yeah, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I had to take a moment to be like, okay, what are these guys' plan? What's their plan? Right. And that's kind of what their plan is, which is kind of funny to think about, that the Skywalker saga started because two guys just didn't want to pay taxes. Yeah. Literally, if they just paid the taxes, they wouldn't try to have killed the Jedi, which would mean that Qui-Gon wouldn't have met Anakin in the first place.
That's right. There's a lot of like what ifs, and when you look at it, it's like the inciting incidents for some of the like crazy things that happen over 9 films are like, not paying taxes. Not paying taxes. If they just so happen to land on Tatooine, which is where Anakin is. That's right. But as much as I am going to shit on this film, I will
I'll start off with the defenses. I'll defend some aspects of this movie.
Okay.
Because there are some things that I feel like a lot of people over the years have been a bit hyperbolic with their criticisms. The main one, a lot of people might disagree with, midichlorians. Here's why.
They introduce the idea of midichlorians, which is basically if you have a high midichlorian count in your blood, that means you're more in touch with the Force, and you could, you have a better chance of like your Force abilities will be better.
Right. So my defense of that, because a lot of people fucking hate that, because their assumption is, oh, so when you say Anakin has 10,000 points versus this, it just sounds ridiculous. You're implying that he's the best of the best and he'll never be topped or anything like that. Here's my assumption of that logic. The Jedi culture and religion is very flawed in of that they are pure, but at the same time, they're illogical in many aspects.
Yes.
The way they treat Anakin is so harsh, so mean-spirited, that I feel like is their main flaw, which gets covered in other Star Wars films, obviously. And their assumption of a midichlorian count is to me, is illogical in their eyes.
Yes.
Which is why the Jedi had their downfall, is because they had these weird moments of, well, if you have a higher midichlorian count and you start very young, you become the best Jedi.
Yeah.
These weird assumptions, when in reality, in Empire, Yoda learns that that's not the way. These Jedi books aren't everything. What it truly is yourself and who you believe in, the Buddhist type of
That's
logic.
right.
So that's my defense of midichlorians, which I get.
And you touched on it extremely well. This film shows us the Jedi Council for the first time.
That's true. Yeah.
And touches upon that, like, the Jedi are far from perfect.
Yes.
And it kind of puts this chink in the Jedi's armor, like, these guys are kind of flawed. Like, do they mean well? Yes.
Of course.
But they're operating off this ancient religion that is and the galaxy is changing, and they are not evolving.
Yeah. That's why they have their robes and shit.
And that is why Qui-Gon Jinn is a fantastic character. Because off the jump, he sees that.
Yes.
The first scene, there's like, Obi-Wan's like, but Master Yoda says that we must be mindful of the living, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Qui-Gon's like, bro, you got to be in the present. Fuck all that Master Yoda shit if you're not in the present. That's a Qui-Gon Jinn quote right there.
Yeah.
Fuck all that Master Yoda
Fuck
shit.
all that Master Yoda shit. He's like, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And he's not, what I love about Qui-Gon is he's loyal to the council.
Yeah.
He finds this kid, and he, to Qui-Gon, doing the right thing, even if nobody agrees, is more important than the Jedi way.
Right.
Right? He finds this kid. He feels something about this kid. They get the midichlorian count, whatever.
Yes.
And he feels obligated to bring him to the Jedi. The prophecy says this. I got to do it.
Yeah.
And he has to, like, pay a price for it. But you could tell by certain things they say. Like, George Lucas is bad at writing dialogue.
Yeah.
But subtle stuff like that, like the thing he says to Obi-Wan, shows that, like, the Jedi Council is kind of fucking weird. And Qui-Gon is a little different.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job of setting up that, like, if Qui-Gon stayed alive and was able to train Anakin, none of this shit would have happened. It's a tragedy. The reason they call it Duel of the Fates in that climax is it's the fate of Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
Because Obi-Wan is not equipped to train Anakin. And he's forced to because it's Qui-Gon's wish.
Right.
And I love that. That's what I love about Phantom Menace. I love the concepts.
Yes.
The execution might be flawed.
Right.
But I love the Jedi Council, like they're all sitting around. I love that stuff, the lore, the world building. I think they do a good job of it.
I half agree with you.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I fully support that concept of Qui-Gon. But here's the thing. You got to have some execution that I find appealing. I personally think that a good majority of the performances in this movie are stale. They are fucking stale. Everyone is monotone.
It's bad line delivery.
Unless you're Jar Jar. In that case, you're annoyingly bad.
You don't think Liam Neeson gives the best performance in this film?
No.
I can't believe you don't think that.
No.
I think out of all the... even Ewan McGregor is bad. He's terrible
bad.
in this movie.
It took him until either I looked at episode 3. He does a good performance in episode 3.
In Attack of the Clones, he's a little bit better. In episode 3, he's the performance of the film.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are the chosen one, right? That's
great.
It's
very
great.
dramatic. Yeah.
In this film, he's not the Obi-Wan we know.
He's boring.
He's boring. He's like a character that gives these one-liners. Like,
yeah.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
He doesn't even interact with a lot of the characters.
He's very much a side character.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my God.
But I think Liam Neeson, obviously he has to say some ridiculous lines.
Yes.
Everybody has to say the George Lucas garbage dialogue in this film.
Yeah.
I think Liam Neeson plays it so good, straight, and believable.
I don't know if it. He's definitely better than Ewan McGregor, but I'm trying to think of a performance that's good in this, and I'm going to be honest with you, Nathan. I don't think any of them do a good job. I don't think even Ian McDiarmid. He's in it for like 3 minutes, and his performance is
You don't like him as like the senator?
He's okay. He gets way better in episode 3. Dude, episode 3, like, you get him as Palpatine, you get him as Darth Sidious. He's actually doing shit. This one, he's not doing anything. He's just like, look, make me be the Chancellor.
He's not doing much, yeah. You're getting moments
nudge,
of it.
Nudge, you know? But I feel like Lucas really just wanted that monotone, executed voice for every character, and it doesn't work at all. I think Qui-Gon as a character in concept works really well, though. He's what brings the progression. I mean, he's the one who also introduced Force Ghosts.
That's right.
In episode 3, I love that. I love the fact that they cover that briefly, but still, it kind of shows that even after death, Qui-Gon is still progressing the Jedi religion without it feeling like they're stuck in their ways.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I completely understand in concept, in theory. In execution, I don't think I'm on the same road as you for that one, but I understand if you feel that way with Qui-Gon. I just feel like, aside from being stoic, he doesn't stand a candle next to Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, or Harrison Ford.
I actually, man, I really, I have here in my notes, Liam Neeson is fucking good. I will die on this hill.
Okay,
Qui-Gon has that dog in him. From the opening scene, they show that he's not like the other Jedi, and that's true. I really like Liam Neeson in this movie.
He does have my favorite line of dialogue in the movie.
Which is?
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. I love that. I love that. You know what, George? I'll give you that, man. That is I like that dialogue. The execution of it, yeah.
That's a good one.
But
Jar Jar, look, he's tough.
I can't.
He's a bad character. He's really bad. He's really bad. He's really unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I don't like him. But you got to think from a technology standpoint.
Yeah.
This is the first ever full CGI character in film. Mm-hmm. This film definitely this is the thing.
It bit off more than it could chew. You can tell from a VFX standpoint.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It certainly did. But the tone is a little conflicting because it's like, you add in Jar Jar, you're obviously trying to appeal to a younger audience with him.
Yes.
But the movie is about trade tariffs and shit. So it's like, what audience are you really going for?
Yeah. There's this fun little interview from the editor of Phantom Menace talking to George about it. You know, the climax?
Yeah.
And he basically pauses the movie and tells George, there is a fundamental flaw in terms of tone. Yeah. You have 4 things going on. You have the Duel of Fates, you have Anakin flying, you have Queen Amidala and her generals all fighting, and then you have Jar Jar. You have all of these cutting back within a 5-minute span.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's a lot.
Simple is better.
Yeah, and I think when you watch, there's a great making of Phantom Menace documentary.
I saw it,
There's a making of all 3 prequels, and I'd argue that those are just as entertaining as watching the films.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't like it.
But no, it's a great learning experience of back when behind the scenes were behind the scenes and not glossy, like, oh, everyone had a great time on set. It's like, no, Phantom Menace was, production-wise, I think Tatooine, there was like a sandstorm.
That's right. Fucked up the set and everything.
Yeah.
They actually have cameras in the room when they're going over the budgets.
Yes.
They're figuring out, they're like, I don't know how we're going to do that droid battle we have no way of doing that. Nobody's ever done anything like this.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure it out. you're watching George watch a cut and then say, I think we took it a little too far.
Yeah.
He says that.
And I love the honesty of it.
I love that
honestly
too.
do, yeah.
I think that's one of the most amazing scenes in the whole documentary, and to leave that in that doc and just say, no, this is the true experience of making this film that was very hard to make. It made me love the film even more.
Yeah.
But literally, George watches a cut. They're in a theater. He watches the cut, and he says, I think we might have took some of these things too far.
It's bold. It's bold, you know. I could quote the behind the scenes. It's like when he talks to the AD, and the AD's like, so do I say action or do you say action? It's
Yeah.
like, I might say action, but if I forget, you can say action or cut and stuff. And it's just like, this is why I kind of get where people are coming from with enjoying the prequels to a certain extent. I like the environment of the prequels back in the day.
Yeah.
Because Lucasfilm, he was not shying away from behind the scenes or
right.
how to create it. Whereas you get the Disney era of Star Wars, and whether you like the films or hate the films, it feels like they have a wall.
That's right.
They have a wall that the audience cannot see what's going on behind the scenes. Like, you're telling me they didn't have any issues when Carrie Fisher passed away. All the interviews about that, they're like, oh no, we had a great time. Everything worked out the way we wanted it to. It's like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Just be honest. And
Just be honest,
If you're
yeah.
more honest with how your production went, we would embrace you more. That hence why Rise of Skywalker is so like shielded away. It feels like a fucking dome of retcon. And at least with Lucas, he'll say like, I didn't think Jar Jar worked as well, hence why you don't see him as much in Episode 3.
Yeah.
Hey, at least he's
It's
fucking honest.
Look, making movies are hard.
Yeah.
Making these types of movies where you're pushing the technology boundaries to their limits and you're inventing new technology to make the vision you have is hard. There's going to be challenges.
Yeah.
And some of it is going to age like milk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the CGI in this film
It's rough.
is fucking bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Right? It does not feel like the original trilogy at all. And there's a lot of nods to the original trilogy style in this film.
Yes.
But I wish they did it more with the practical effects. I
Yes.
wish, like, I understand from a technology standpoint that Lucasfilm and George Lucas have always been interested in telling great stories, but pushing the boundaries of technology.
Yes.
And in 1999, the new boundary of technology was computer-generated graphics.
Yeah.
And he leaned into it heavily. And I think there's 100 films that could thank the Phantom Menace for being able to do what they've done.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if in 1999 took a huge leap in CGI just because of this film.
Yeah. I fully agree with that. I mean, like.
But some of it ages like milk.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't even talk about yet is Darth Maul, the villain, I guess.
What's it? Does he talk? He says one line.
He says like 2 lines.
Yeah, that's memorable. He looks more memorable than he actually is.
Again, another thing where it's like, I love the concept, I hate the execution of it.
Yep.
What a why? Everybody was so excited for Darth Maul. Like, the toys were flying off the shelves, but he's really not in the fucking movie. People are dressed like Darth Maul at the premiere.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, man.
Like, I'll give credit, I'll give defenses for like Count Dooku and General Grievous.
Yeah.
I mean, at least those guys have characters to them.
Yeah.
What the fuck can you say about Darth Maul aside from he looks cool?
I know. And they literally, they did the Clone Wars cartoon, and
Oh, yeah.
they did their best to, like, fill in all the gaps that the prequels have.
personality.
And Darth Maul has great storylines in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But in this film, there leaves much to be desired.
Yeah.
You get the dual, like, imagine seeing the dual lightsabers for the
Yeah.
first time. You get that quick one where he's like, comes out of nowhere, he's fighting Qui-Gon in the sand. Qui-Gon jumps on the thing, it's gone, it's over in a minute.
Yeah. Nothing.
And then you don't see him basically until Duel of the Fates, which I think is a fantastic sequence.
Yes.
One of probably the best lightsaber fight in Star Wars, period.
Okay.
That's how I feel. The music
Yep.
is Duel of the Fates. John Williams cooked with that one. Bum, 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 bum,
Oh, yeah, man.
That shit slaps. Christian had never watched the movie. He's already singing it.
He's already humming it, man. Yeah. I'll give that credit too. The
I love
biggest
that scene.
positive I will say about episode 1 and the other episodes as well is that this is John Williams at his best.
Peak,
I
yeah.
think he does a better job with this soundtrack than the original trilogy
Yeah.
because of the Duel of the Fates, because of
The variety you get.
Like,
Yeah.
it just
The original
feels-
trilogy was like a lot of like the main theme remixed. Like they would play it in
Yes.
different tones. This
Still
one
good.
he just cooks. Like really captures the energy.
Yeah.
Another sequence I want to talk about quickly, the pod race sequence.
Pod race is good.
The pod race is memorable.
And you know what's funny about that? They don't use music.
No.
I'll give that credit, especially because John Williams is involved.
Yeah, and the sound effects make it, though. The sound effects of the pods are so cool.
Yeah.
The sound design, I think, really carries that scene. And in a movie where a lot of the CGI ages like milk, surprisingly, the pod race, one of the most CGI-heavy scenes, doesn't age that poorly.
No.
I really don't think it does.
It's pretty solid for the most part.
It feels like a climax in itself, and it happens pretty early in the film.
Yeah.
But it also feels like it happens for no fucking reason.
Yeah, I mean, the whole
Like, they just
Watto
needed-
Qui-Gon thing, it's just like, well, we have to take the kid, but it's like, it's essentially Lucas trying to be like, how do we get Anakin to the Jedi?
Yeah, exactly. and the way he did it was like kind of convoluted. Like they do a dice game and it's like
The Force, yeah.
just like I don't know. It just felt like he was just coming up with it on the spot.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they just like have a race or.
And again, like, in terms of whether you find the execution good or not, in concept, I think another positive I'll give is portraying Anakin in this innocent way to contrast him becoming Darth Vader when he becomes an adult. I think that's an interesting way to handle it, instead of him just being like a snooty brat.
The kid's performance is not very.
It's not good.
It's not very good, but you're right.
The innocence.
He's an innocent kid.
Yes.
He's an innocent kid, and because he's so innocent, when he gets taken to the council and they're like, "No, you're not training him." You're like, "What the fuck? The Jedi are actually fucked up because this kid is like."
He's too old.
What,
He's 8
what-
years old.
What's
What
wrong?
the fuck?
He loves his mom, so he can't get trained. And I love that
Yeah.
it introduces this doubt of the Jedi, because in the original trilogy, the Jedi feel like the
Like a mystery.
all-knowing.
Yeah.
Like they feel like the good versus evil objectively. There's no blurred line, and this film explores the blurred line.
See
of
the
like,
truth, yeah.
They might mean well, but they're fucking up.
Yeah.
And they
agree
build
with that.
upon that really well. They do the best example of that in Revenge of the Sith,
Yes.
which is actually a great film.
Yeah.
This one, sure, execution a little poor, but it has its place in film history because of the hype, the box office, the advancement of technology, and the expanding of the world of Star Wars. This is one of those films I really wish I could have been alive and my age right now in 1999 and have seen in the theater.
Yep. You know what? With all like the cynicism and overpraise of this film, you either love it or hate it. I think I'm on the negative, but at the same time, I kind of understand where you're coming from. If you find a lot of the execution, like Qui-Gon's performance and the Jedi's concept and everything like that work, this film has it for you. For me, I feel like the editing is its biggest flaw.
Sure.
The editing is its biggest flaw, and if it just knew when to stop, when to slow down, and when to give moments of characters, I feel like this movie would be more refined and would not be on the same quality as original trilogy, but be a watchable film for me at least.
Sure. The pacing is definitely all over the place. But yeah, you could see why people like it.
Yeah.
And I can see why people hate it.
Yeah.
But but we can mutually agree that there's fun moments in this film. And it has its place in film history.
For sure. Yeah. And this is when Star Wars fans all united together and didn't do anything stupid or hated each other, right, Nathan?
Right.
1999, yeah.
There was peace.
There was peace, and then there was peace again when Disney bought them, right? And then the rest is history. So.
Yeah, this film did kind of start a toxic fandom. After this movie came out, there was no more agreeing on Star Wars.
Nope, there was definitely a divide. But Nathan, let's call it now. What are your final thoughts and final rating for?
My final rating for the Phantom Menace is a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I love the Phantom Menace for a lot of reasons. 6 out of 10 is my rating. It's so bad it's good. I love it.
Good stuff. I originally had it as a 4 out of 10. I dropped it down to 3. I'm sorry.
I tried to get a 1.5 star up, man.
Dude, if I'm giving 3 out of 10 for this, imagine what I'm going to give Rise of Skywalker when I rewatch it, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll end it up there. Thank you for watching this month's Movie of the Month. Let us know what you think of the Phantom Menace in the comments. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting Real Talk Podcast.
Peace.